Hello and welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, we talk about tips and ideas for getting the career you love. So do subscribe if you want to get more ideas from me. I'm a career coach. My name is Katrin. And in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the topic of messing up a little at work or in your career. And the reason I thought it's important to talk about it is a few of my clients mentioned this stifling fear that they have of saying something wrong in a work meeting or making a mistake, sending the email to the wrong person, all sorts of nightmares that, worst case scenarios that could possibly happen, and how this fear prevents them from actually sharing their opinion, doing courageous things, and basically something that prevents them from getting promotions at the end of the day because they are playing it safe. So if you feel like you are sometimes feeling somewhat crippled by this fear of making a mistake, and this is something that has been holding you back, then this video is for you. Um, where do I begin? So there is something that Winston Churchill said that I love hearing and I love saying over and over again. The quote was, "Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm." How is that for you? So one thing I've noticed that I was reading about successful entrepreneurs and also seeing, from people who really succeed in their career is that they actually have a lot higher tolerance towards making mistake. And as a result of it, they actually take courageous action that sometimes doesn't quite play out very well. But at other times, this is something that really brings them a lot of success and progression in what they do. So I do not imagine that I could have ever had success in the corporate world or even running my own business without failing all the time, multiple times a day, getting a lot of rejections from potential clients, or doing all sorts of things that may have messed things up. And I feel like I've kind of built up somewhat a bit of a resilience towards these feelings. So, because I've learned that there is no way of learning, there's no way of learning how to be a coach without having a few coaching sessions that don't go really well. And there's no way of learning how to market your own business and getting new clients without having a few conversations that don't go so well, right? So, I also been noticing that recently I've, in a few coaching relationships that I've had, I felt that I was kind of planning on getting fired or messing up the relationship for the sake of um, really telling the client my honest truth or the honest mirror that I could offer. And I had a really strong fear that actually they're gonna freak out and fire me, or maybe my whatever I was offering, maybe that wasn't right for them at all. And at some point, I've decided I'm going to kind of, try to get fired every week. And I'm going to try and mess up a little every week. And what I've started to notice is that it actually increased my impact in those conversations like never before. And the feedback I started to get is that this was probably one of the most profound conversations I've ever had. And this was one of the most productive hours I've ever spent. And it all came from just being okay with that fear and really aiming to mess it up a little. Because what you may find is what for you may seem like a mistake is actually something that the other person really needs to know. So, for example, if you find yourself sitting quietly in business meetings, in your company meetings, and feeling like what other people are saying don't really make sense and this is not going in the right direction, but like not having the courage to actually say it out loud or feel like your opinion will not be counted. So I'm talking about paying attention to those kind of situations when your opinion could really add to the conversation. And I also want to give kind of a word of caution here because obviously, not everyone has the um, opportunity to allow themselves to try and mess it up every day at work because the job market is very difficult at the moment. There's no two opinions about it, and you definitely don't want to put your work in jeopardy. But what I'm saying is that be careful of not putting your long-term career in jeopardy by not speaking up your mind, by not being bold at work. But there are a couple of things that I really recommend considering when you decide what is your comfort level around messing up a little bit at work. Um, so, ideally, you need to know that you have other options. So, it is very difficult to allow yourself the freedom to make the kind of impact you want to have on the company or on the business if you feel like this is a make it or break it scenario and you will not be able to get another job, or you don't have any other options, you don't have any savings. So definitely consider, first of all, making yourself comfortable and giving yourself options by either becoming a nearly irreplaceable professional in your market, um, or having other options, having other conversations on the go, having other ideas, and of course, looking after yourself financially to make sure that you can afford taking bold steps at work. And so, secondly, I would say it's important also to decide on the degree of risk and so what's being bold or what's messing up looks like for your organization, and make sure whatever it is that you do that it is in line with the guidelines, in line with the culture of the organization. So what I'm trying to say, if you are someone who's very entrepreneurial minded and you have a very entrepreneurial idea that you want to express, but you work for a very hierarchical organization, very traditional organization, like for example, a Japanese conglomerate. So obviously, this kind of your suggestions may not be they may not be bold, they may actually be inappropriate in that situation. So make sure you're being bold um, within the boundaries of that culture, if you know what I mean. Drop me in the comments below what may that look like in your organization, and if you are getting what I'm saying here so far. So here are a couple of things to consider. So making sure you have other options, considering what's bold within the boundaries of your culture. Um, and thirdly, there was a third point. The third point is actually going ahead and planning, putting it in your calendar if you want to, putting like a little sticky note on your computer to with a phrase along the lines of, if I was not afraid to mess up a little bit today, what would I do? And then actually go ahead and experiment with taking bold steps, of course, within the guidelines that I have set out before, and see what happens. And to be honest, when I leave my weekend that way, I feel so exhilarated by the kind of impact that I can have, and also I get a lot of confidence from taking bold steps and seeing that they land very well. So see what that looks like for you. There's another thing that comes up for people is that there's obviously there is making blatant mistakes, and there are also being afraid of making a mistake because of some painful experience around making a mistake in the past. A lot of the time, this fear is ancient. It comes from the time when we were super tiny and we were just exploring the world for the first time, and obviously making a ton of mistakes. Just think about trying to walk. How many times do you fall? Right. So, and a lot of the time, if this fear goes unchecked, if you've never worked with a therapist, for example, or a counselor to really work through that and look at that fear, this may be preventing you from doing courageous things that are not mistakes at all. It's just something that you are meant to do in your profession, in your organization. It's almost, um, it might almost be expected of you to act in that way. So keep the fear in check. Maybe have a look. One of the processes that I like to do is to look back at the times when I did messed up royally as a kid and look at it with my adult eyes and with compassion and understanding for the fact that I was learning at the time and that making mistakes is part of the learning process. And then actually going ahead and doing things that feel scary and where I might be wrong. I have been wrong a lot when I acted in a bold way, but the experiences that I got out of it, the learnings that I got out of it were absolutely invaluable in order for me to really move ahead in my life, in my career. And I wouldn't have been here giving you advice on those things without those mess ups, as some may call them. Right. Give me some ideas in the comments. Let's brainstorm this. What could you possibly do this week, despite your irrational fear of making mistakes, that would allow you to mess up a little? So leave it in the comments below, subscribe to my channel, and like this video if you like it, and I'll see you next time.